Right, okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to use the menu system to build a controllable key control menu system. I'm going to use just some rubbishy sprites from the game engine, but obviously you're going to change the graphics for whatever you want for your menu options. So I want this to be on the title container. So I'm going to build it all here. So I'm going to say main menu. It doesn't exist. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it to create the main menu. Generate class. Okay, and you can see it's made that for me. I'm going to add the engine. So I'm going to put a using statement. I'm probably going to want some of the other XNA things like the framework, and I'm probably going to need Microsoft.xna.framework.the graphics. I'm just adding those in so they don't cause me trouble later. Right, so main menu is going to inherit from the menu class of the engine. So I'm going to put up here :menu. Okay. And in the constructor, I'm going to set the menu up and get it to display, but I need to pass, a bit like when you did the tile maps, I need to pass on some information to the menu system, and I'm going to give a title. So I'm just going to call this main menu, and I'm going to tell it what type it is. Now this is going to be one that is a sprite menu. You can do text-based ones, but this is a sprite one. Okay, so that sets up the basic menu. I need to make sure that I add to the menu manager, I add this menu. So it knows it exists and it knows how to work with it. A bit like when we had a sprite and we have to add it to the engine. Okay, what I need to do now is add some items to the menu. So this is where I'm adding my sprites. So I say add item and I say new menu item. I give it a name, and this is the name that I will use to refer to the item. So I'm going to have play for play game, just as a bit of text. Then I'm going to have a sprite. So I need to put the name of the sprite I'm going to have. So that's going to be the play menu item, I'm going to call it. Right, it doesn't exist, so I'm going to ask for it to be created. But this time I want to keep everything in this main menu file. So I'm going to say generate class play menu item in main menu. So it'll create it in here for me. Okay. I need to put a semicolon at the end, stop it moaning. It's picked text store. We don't want it to be that. It's going to be a sprite. So what I'm now going to do quickly is I'm going to have 3 items on this menu. So I'm going to copy this and paste it 3 times. I'm going to paste it just above so I don't make a mistake. I'll need to change the names because you're not allowed duplicates. So I'm going to have play menu item. I'm going to have instruction menu item. And when I change that, I need to change that. So that's going to be one for the play, one for the instructions, and the other one's going to be exit. Obviously, you can have as many items as you want in your menu, and that's up to you. Okay, right, so now I've got those, I'm just going to go back. I'm going to add these other 2. So I'm going to call this one instruction, and that's going to be the instruction menu item. There it is. And this one's going to be called exit, and that's going to be the exit menu item. Okay, right, so obviously I've got no stuff in these, so these are just going to be sprites. So I'm just going to create sprites. Okay, so what I need to do is just put the definition information for a sprite. Now with menus, the menu manager hides and shows the sprites, so I don't actually add them to the game engine at this stage, but I define all the other things like the frames. So I'm just going to define some frames, and like I say, you will have a texture for this, but I'm just going to use the ball textures from the engine. So I'm going to use the TX shiny balls, and I'm going to say GM dot. So this is there's a set of graphics for shiny balls. So I'm going to have shiny ball 2. I'm then going to set the X and Y positions. I'm going to say X equals gm.screen size.center.x. So it's going to be in the center, and I'm going to set it to be at position 100. Well, no, 400, the exit menu. Okay, that's all I need to do. So I'm going to copy and paste that to the instruction menu. I'm going to use a different ball graphic. Like I say, you've got your own sprites for these. I'm going to paste it to the play menu, and I'm going to use, again, different ball graphic, and I'm going to put that one at 200. Okay. So I'm just going to say show inside the main menu constructor. And that should be enough just to get it to display. So let's just see if it displays. We've got a little bit more work to do. So let's just run that, see if we've got any errors. And there you go. There's those three balls on the screen. They're blue, the cyan and the red. They are my menu items. Okay. Right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create some code to show which one's selected. All right. And I'm going to do this by creating on sprite rejectors and selectors. So I'm going to say on reject sprite, and I'm going to say equals. So unhighlight item, I'm going to call that. So I'm going to generate that. So this is just the code. Keep the noise down. This is going to generate the code that will show the items that are not selected. So for this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash these in a horrible color. So I'm going to say, so we're just messing about with sprite properties. So I'm going to say color.gray. All right. So when an item's not selected, this code is run and it allows me to change the color of it. I can change anything about the sprite. I can move it around. Yeah, I might do that actually. So just to show you, so I'm going to say x handle me.x. I have to put handle me.x equals gm.screen size.center.x. So unselected ones are forced to the center. Okay, right. So going back up here, I can then say, what do I want to do for the one that is currently selected? And I'm going to call this highlight item. And I'm going to press Control dot and generate it. So this is going to be the settings for the one that is selected. So I want this one to be washed in white, so it'll look bright. And I'm going to move this across a little bit. So I'm going to say handle me.x equals gm.screen size.center.x plus 50. So it'll move across a little bit. Okay, so I've still got my menu items, which are my sprites, which are defined down here. You can put as much stuff as you want in there. You can do animations. I can show you how to do that. We've then got two bits of code that are run to highlight and unhighlight items. So you'll see the effect of this if I run it. Okay, because you can see the blue one's over. The other two are slightly muted in color. Okay, right. Let's put some control code in here for doing some key work. And we're going to do that by creating an event. So we're going to say gm.eventmanager.add event. So we're going to say EV controls equals new event, just like you create any event. We want it to run at maximum rate. So we're going to say eventmanager.maximum rate. And this is going to be our menu controller. So we'll put that debug text and we'll run a subroutine called control. So we're going to generate that. So control dot generate field. We're going to generate that. So control dot. And we're going to say generate method. I don't know how that Windows stuff's coming up, but we're going to say that. Right, so we're just going to put some control key code in here. So we're going to say if gm.inputmanager.key pressed, and we're going to do keys.down, Right, so I'm going to add the input framework. So I don't have to keep typing that long bit of code. So I just want keys dot. So keys dot down is the cursor key down. So if that is pressed, I'm going to say move to the next menu item. If the person controlling the game does keys dot up, which is the up cursor, we're going to move to the previous menu item. Okay, so if we run that, we should now have interactive control of the menu. So I'm pressing down, and you can see it's selecting each separate item. I hate that bouncing out bit, so on my highlighting, I'm just going to comment out the moving of the X on both the highlight and unhighlight. We don't need to change it. So if we run that again, and there you go. So open down. Notice it wraps. So we can, if you don't want the menu to wrap, in the constructor where you set it up, we can just say wrap no. Okay, and so this time when I get to the bottom, it won't go any further. When I go to the top, it won't go any further. Okay. The last bit is to, if we've selected a menu, to actually do the work. So I'm going to just say another if, and I'm going to say GM, so I'm in the control code. So input manager.key pressed, and if it's the, I'm going to use the enter key. If it's the enter key, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run another subroutine. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it take action. It doesn't exist, so I'm going to get it created. Now I could have put the code there, but I just want to keep this separate so it's not confusing. So depending on what menu item's selected, I'm going to pick a specific one. So I'm going to use a switch for that, and I'm going to say selected name, I think, if I remember rightly. There it is. Put braces in, and then I'm going to say case, and the names I'm looking for are the names when I created the menu items. So I've got play, instruction, and exit. So if say, is it play? If you spell this wrong, it won't match. So if it's play, what I need to do is do whatever the code is for that. Okay, so it might be gm dot clear all managed objects, and then it might be gm dot active equals new, and then if I've got my game container set up, which I have, I think it just does a color screen, but I'll set that. So I'm going to put a case in for all the other ones. So here's my instructions. You have to put break, and then I'm going to put my exit, and I'm going to put my exit code in. You have to get the case exactly the same because they're case sensitive. So I've done all mine in lowercase on purpose so I don't cock them up. Right, so to exit the game, we just say close system, and that will exit the game. Okay, so if I press enter, it runs this subroutine, take action. Okay, so I'm going to show you that. So I'm running it now. And that's the basics of a menu. So that'll get you a basic menu set up, and then you can expand it later. So the top one was play the game. So I'm going to press enter, and it goes to my pretend play game setting, which is a red screen. If I press escape, I'm back, and there's the menu on again. If I press enter on the red one, that should exit, and that exits the system. So let's just recap. So I decided where I wanted to show the main menu. So I just said create new main menu, and I did that in the title container. The main menu code, it inherits from menu, and then we just set up the constructor. Remember, that's the start point. So when we say new main menu, this is what gets run. We passed on to the menu system that this was going to be a sprite menu called main menu. We added it to the menu manager. What we then do is add all these items. So these are the menu items, and essentially these are sprites, and we create the sprites, and they're here. So you see, and I put them inside here so because I don't need them anywhere else. I've just made up some stupid things, but the position is up to you. You can put them anywhere you want. You can do some pretty advanced things with menus, but that'll be for a further video. Okay, so once you've defined your items, you then work with the menu system with the reject and select. So that is code that's run to change what the menu item looks like. So unhighlight is for those that aren't selected, and the selected one, we run highlight item. So I just created all these in here, and all I'm doing is I'm changing the wash. Okay, so I'm using grey and white. So white makes it look like it was originally designed. Grey fades it out a little bit. Standard way of doing a little menu. We then created an event. If you don't do show, you won't see your menu, but we created an event to do some key controls so we can go up and down the menu with next and previous. And then if we press enter, we've done the action where we look at what is the selected item and then we do the correct instructions depending on what it is. Okay, that's how to do a basic sprite menu.